Hi. I should be doing a whole bunch of different things today. I have a lot of things planned for my day, and I haven't put up any content for a while. Not that I haven't been making any content. I've been making content and thinking about content, streaming content, writing content, reflecting on that process, writing and creating, and what it means for me and what it means for other people, and personality and um, different, everyone's different mental health concerns, what people's priorities are, Myers Briggs stuff. I've been watching ADHD content. I've been watching about my Myers Briggs type, which is ISFP. Is that right? I think it is. ISFP-A, the adventurer. That's my type. And what I've realized is that I was starting to feel some shame around making content and posting it. I felt self-conscious about how I look. I also felt like filming myself and kind of just monologuing and posting it is vain and narcissistic, which isn't who I think I am as a person. So I worry that just even doing that is misrepresenting me, and also what do people who know me or people who don't know me even think about me when they watch it, which is really none of my business. It's none of my business what you think about me. The only thing I can control is what I think about myself. And I don't think I'm vain or narcissistic. I think I'm interested in the self, and so I like reflecting on myself, and I like talking about what's going on with me. And I guess my hope, as being somebody who, honestly, to be honest, I love making content, and my hope in being that type of person who loves making content is that something I say resonates, or some realization or insight that I had helps somebody else. Not that it's going to be a huge mind-blowing epiphany that's going to completely change your life, but maybe a little paradigm shift or reframe here and there is helpful on your journey. I'm not a guru, as you probably noticed. The Chaotic Soaper, which is the name of the channel that I've been using, has leaned more into the chaos than the soaping as of late. And that's okay. That's okay. And I knew that going in. I knew that I picked the word chaotic for a reason. That's a big part of who I am, how I felt, how I run, how my house and my life and my creativity often feels around me. And it's a blessing and also a curse. So what I've been doing lately, so that's one thing I wanted to say. One thing I wanted to say is I'm going to keep showing up. I'm sorry if you know me and it scares you that I do this, or you don't like that I do this, or I'm sorry if you don't know me and you don't like this. You don't have to watch this. I hope you, if you like it, you do watch it, and you like it and subscribe and leave a comment. But if you don't like it, turn it off, please. Just go live your life and let me live mine. I'm a sensitive person. I don't need your feedback about it. If you don't like it, just switch the channel. But if you do like it, stay and listen. But yes, I apologize to, this is the apology. I apologize to the people that know me that worry when they see me doing this, but I am a creator. I love making content. And if you look back on my life, you will realize that I have been an artist, a performer, creator, content maker for many, many years. This is not new. This is not a mental health episode. This should not frighten you. If I look back on my life, from my earliest memories, I liked to write and draw, create stories, watch stories, loved stories. I played the piano and I sang and I performed from a fairly early age, being involved in church and school, and then later studying music at university. Later on, when I was married, I was a teacher, a performer. I was a puppeteer. I did puppet shows. And after that, I had a blog. For 5 years, I had the blog. I've been interested in video from, if my parents look back, from when my mom bought my dad that video camera that he really wasn't interested in. Me and my brother were interested in it, and we made a lot of stupid videos in the basement. And I love doing that. And sometimes wish I still had that equipment. And so, making content and self expression, self reflection, self realization, it's not new. So if you're here and you know me and you don't like this and you want to shut me up, you should probably leave, because you don't really know me and you're not really supporting me by being like that. And I think my thinking about other people and how they're feeling about that has become a big block to me wanting to be here and express myself. So something I've been doing a lot of, so that's one thing. Something I've been doing a lot of lately is writing. And in writing, this time it's been sort of like memoir, but fictionalized, memoir. It's drawn from my own experiences a lot. And I've just been getting it all out. And this has been an off again, on again process that I've been going through for over 3 years now. And when I say on again, off again, I really mean on again, off again, because I'll do it intensely and then it'll just be upsetting or difficult, or I'll have doubt about it and I'll step far, far away from it for a while. I went through a period of making soap and having a soap company, and I found so much joy in making soap that I, decided that this channel was going to be about soap, which is not exactly. It can be, and I might make soap again one day soon and just make soap and chat. I love soap and I love making it and I love looking at it and I love how much variety it can have, but that's just part of who I am. I'm creative and I like discovering things and self-expression, and surprisingly you can have exercise self-expression by making bars of soap. But oh my god, I completely lost my train of thought. This is the ADHD sort of component. Okay, so I've been on again with the writing, and I've come to a place where it's funny because you get to a certain stage. I got to a stage where the writing was like shadow work. I started off doing it because I'd lost myself in my marriage and events that happened leading up to my marriage, the person I was and the person who I was with before my marriage, which was really significant to me because it's like this little golden, almost like lost childhood that I had, with this wonderfully compatible person who's probably also an ISPF or something, ISFP, whatever, like the, very, very compatible, introverted, probably not the same type as me. See, I can't overlay this stuff. The person's probably not the same type as me, and this is the thing. But we felt like we were for a long time, we felt very compatible, and we really, our identities kind of were enmeshed. And so when my marriage, I married somebody else, and we were compatible too in the way that people who are different can be complementary and work well together. And so we would have been a really great working together team as a marriage. Probably the emotional differences were a bit too big to be breached, and I'm pretty sure he is on the autism spectrum disorder, sort of somewhere. I'm not trying to diagnose the person. It's a person I care about a lot. He's a great person, but we couldn't make it work, and I tried for too long. So I lost myself in that trying. And when I came out of it, something snapped, and I just wanted to be back with that, childhood golden boy enmeshed partner. And so I just was yearning and just desperately wanted to go backwards. And so when I started writing, I was coming out of a period where my new relationship with this person had kind of come to a head. We'd had a big blow up and we weren't speaking anymore because he wanted me to knock it off, and I was just intractable and manipulative and lots of things. And so how we left things off was we're not speaking anymore. And then I sold the house that I had bought after my divorce, and I bought a new house, this one right here, moved. And at that time I made a huge break in my life where I felt like everything I had been doing, and probably rightly so, I felt like everything I had been doing wasn't really working and like being a vehicle for big change in my life and momentum in my life like I wanted to have again. And so I decided to stop everything and get a job outside the house. And I decided for my mental health and for my fitness and for our financial well-being and all kinds of reasons, it would be better to work outside of home, see people every day, have a routine, and just have a paycheck, where I have an employer and they're just paying me a salary, putting money in the bank, and I don't have that stress and chaos of being an entrepreneur, which I'd always been. Even all through my marriage, I'd made my living as an entrepreneur, with a brief period of like 4 or 5 years when I actually worked for a lab full time, like a real adult job. The rest of my real adult life, I'd been an entrepreneur. And I say real adult life because like up till 25, I had, the usual shitty full-time jobs and could pay my rent and things. Anyhow, that's me. So when I came here, the pandemic started. I didn't have a new job. I didn't have my old job. And of course, now we had this huge period of isolation and stuff. And actually, this is weird. Almost like, I guess people would call it a dark night of the soul, and it really was. It started around Christmas. We had a lovely Christmas, and I was like, I can relax and I can enjoy this Christmas. I have extra money because I just sold this house. I paid off all my debts. I have X amount of money in the bank. This is great. Like I made this really great decision. I felt like a really successful entrepreneur for 5 minutes, and I had this money that we could live off of for a while even, and it was terrific. So I was like, I'm looking for a job, but no stress. I can relax. And instead of feeling motivated, happy, relieved, whatever, I fell into a huge, beyond a funk, a deep dark hole, where I was just crying. I was in mourning, and I realized that this was early 2020, from the time in 2018 to the time in 2020, during which I'd had the huge fight and then not been speaking to this enmeshed golden boy person for almost 2 years. I'd been just repressing all my feelings about it. I hadn't allowed myself to think of anything related to the past or anything that touched my heart or triggered, memories, anything that sort of opened up my withered soul. So I was limiting what kind of music I would listen to. I was limiting what I would read. I was limiting what kind of films I would watch. I was limiting even where I'd go in the city. What kind of conversations I was having with people. So I didn't want to hear about happy and long-lasting relationships. I didn't want to hear about older people's regrets, lives well lived, happy marriages. I couldn't. It was breaking my heart, and so I became I was really closed off. And when I stopped, I think just my brain went, okay, like, we have time now. We're not freaking. Okay, we're going to work on that. We're gonna crack this kiddo open. So that's what happened. I cracked open. I started writing, and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, and I cried a lot, and it was just a crazy time. And after a while, I was in about March. So this started in January. In about March, I was like, I have to go out. I couldn't see people. I was just like telling people, like, I can't be near you. I can't be around you. I'm not up to it. Like, and my birthday is in March, and I remember going out to Spa Nordique here in Ottawa, on the Quebec side, actually, with a friend for my birthday. So we spent the day, in these like hot pools and the sauna, and then jump in the cold pool and the salt, salt scrubs, and white robes and everything, and beautiful, woodland setting, and man-made waterfalls and things around us. And I sat in the hot tub and just cried, but it felt good to finally be out with my friend, and we had a lovely like lunch in our in our damp robes, and with the fire going, and it was very shishi poo poo, and that was lovely. And I was like, I'm gonna start going out again, like, this is my recovery. And a week later, we were in the pandemic. Actually, on his birthday it started, because our birthdays are close. So it was like the universe was saying, no, you're not finished yet. So I did go into it. And I mean, I during the pandemic, we were up all night. We slept all day. I would get up at like 3 o'clock, 4:30. I was having my coffee. I mean, 6 o'clock at night, I'd just go for these long walks. And there's a farm here, and I'd walk over to the farm, and I'd walk through the farm. I'd watch the sunsets. You know, I'd go into my imagination. I'd stop somewhere, and I'd sit and meditate, and I'd watch as the bats were coming out and, you know, nibbling things out of the air, and that was my life. And so I stayed in that energy, and for a while continued to write. Now after a while, by about August, I was like, I can't be sad anymore. Like I'm cried dry at this point. Like this has been going on for 8 months. And I discovered soaping, and I really went into that. But I wasn't closed off anymore, because through the writing I'd admitted ways I'd been like a terrible person. I started to remember the past, like things that I had definitely repressed. I started to have some insights. And so I felt like, okay, I'm healed, like I've figured everything out. And, you know, life started slowly back up again. I got the job I have now. Past year's been like really busy, really crazy busy. And then since, again, about January, right after Christmas, again, I started wanting to write. So I rebooted and I started writing some more, and it felt easier this time. It wasn't as upsetting. However, I think I found new layers of insights about myself. I wrote through, I opened a diary of a trip that we'd taken overseas, because his family's from there, and we'd gone to visit actually his father in another country, and this lovely, not lovely actually, I would say interesting, good reading, literary, almost kind of trip. So like maybe something Hemingway would write or something, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. Everyone had their head up their own ass, and everyone had different agendas, and me, who had never been overseas and perhaps never would be again, for whom this was a really big deal, and I had saved for it for a year, didn't do any of the kind of what he would say fat-legged tourist stuff, you know, like so it was a letdown. And as I was writing through it, I was finding things I hadn't seen before, or I hadn't remembered for a long time. And they explained to me some of the things that I did that I started thinking about in 2020 and thought I was an awful person, and now I started to see the context and how things led up to it. And I was angry at him, and I you know, I had a general sense of there having been some unease, but I didn't remember some of the specifics, and the specifics were there. They were real. But that doesn't excuse my bad behavior. And it certainly doesn't undo the fact that both of us were very young, and that people who are around each other 24/7 often do and say stupid things that they mean or don't mean, or who knows, and it's long ago and you should let it go. And so I didn't feel as angry at myself anymore, which was actually really great. And without being angry at him this time. So, because for a long time, anger was fuel. Because I was angry at him, I could break away from him and stop talking to him and be like, he's a bad guy, and he said and did this, and he's unbelievable, and I should be. But then I'm still closed off, right? And that's just a layer of energy to get me moving away from this, wanting to be in this safe, comfortable thing. Then the next layer was bad, because it starts reeling me back towards him, because I start regretting everything I said and did, and thinking, poor guy, and I'm this terrible pariah, and I just like owe so much contrition, and I'm like just like this huge bag of tears, wanting to, you know, call him up and cry on him some more, which we'd already done. And I mean, poor guy, like, I mean, his clothes are wet. He's just like where is this coming from after all this time? And please leave me alone now. Like, please, like, I don't care about your feelings that much. I don't even care about my feelings that much. So please just shut up. So, you know, that's not healthy either, but it was a stage. And now I kind of, I don't know, I was all this stuff, and I was watching Matthew Hussey, you know, and all these. Matthew Hussey's like, it's salesy, but sometimes he says some really great things too. He has some really good insights. And one thing that he said is, when a guy tells you something like he won't marry you, he's not the marrying kind, or something like that, and it's a guy who's doing everything that you think, oh, I shouldn't believe that. Like, he's the marrying kind. Like, we're definitely in it, which was the situation I was in. You know, you're visiting his father. You live together. You know, you're doing each other's laundry. You're, you know, scratching each other's back. You're together all the time. Like, you figure you're in it for the person's future. You're part of their family and all these things. And then they say something like, I'm not the marrying kind. Like, if you want that, it's not with me. And you think, I shouldn't listen to that, because, like, look at us. Like, that's just crazy talk. And that's the headspace that I'd been in. What Matthew Hussey says is, when somebody tells you something like that in that kind of situation, there's no benefit to them to tell you that. That comes at a great cost and great risk to them to be that, give you that bare honesty. Like, you better take that serious. Because they have nothing to gain and everything to lose in that situation by telling you that. And I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. That's the situation that we were in. And so when I left him, and I was shitting on myself about that, and he had said, like, you know, he had said minimizing things to me, like, you don't really want to get married. You know, let's have children and see if I feel like doing the right thing. You just want to get married because your friend is getting married. All that kind of stuff. Culminating in a letter that he gave me at my work with some flowers, and ran off and didn't even stay while I read it. And I cried all day at work in somebody's office. I had to go in somebody's office and shut the door. In the letter, he asked me to get married, but he never even had the face to stay there while I read it. He left it with me to, like, if you want to do it, arrange it, kind of thing. And you can't do that to a person who doesn't. Where's that going to be in 5 years, you know? So, I mean, obviously it's a no. Like, it's just platitudes at that point. He didn't even ever ask me to my face. So no, you know, that's not a real proposal. I always, in my mind, was like, I had 2 proposals, but I didn't. I only had one. And I married that person because I did want to get married. And I did want to have a family. And I'm glad that I did all those things. I don't regret them. And he didn't want to do them. So after I realized all these things and put all these pieces together, I went to bed, and I woke up in the morning just laying on my back, and, like, I think my shirt was up, or maybe my shirt was off, and I had my hands over it, and I was just like, I felt my belly, and I could see my legs and my toes, and I woke up in my own bed with my fan going over my head, and man, I felt comfortable in my body. I felt so good in that moment. I can't tell you how good I felt in that moment. I just felt comfortable and okay on my own. And I'm pretty sure that was the culmination of the writing that I've been doing lately. And there might be another layer. My question is now, do I keep digging? Do I keep writing? Do I continue to go through this? Because I haven't even touched on the years yet that I was married, and there's a lot to unpack there. It's maybe a whole other book. I don't know. And this is the thing. Am I writing just for recovery, or am I writing a book? I like to think I'm writing a book because I'm still looking for that vehicle to change my life. But I don't want to write a book and be pursuing it to have a published book that's going to just tear up or infuriate or upset this person that I still care about. But we're still not talking. So yesterday after work, I was sitting in my car, and I was thinking about all the ways that I did still want, and I have apologized before, but I've apologized for all the wrong things, and it was insincere and damaged of me to be apologizing for leaving him and not accepting his offer to get married and stuff when he never made one. And you're kidding. Like, if you read the things that happened in Spain, like, I mean, everything that happened after, I mean, I was right to leave. I'm sorry, but I was. What I did want to apologize for was between 2015 and 2018, when we were in touch again, what a train wreck I was, and how messy and damaged and insincere and unsettled, just wanting to fill a relationship shaped hole in my life with something that felt comfortable and familiar and safe, that I was fixated on and idealizing. And I was being manipulative towards him. I was telling him the truth of what I felt, but in a contrived kind of premeditated, I don't know, like in a yucky way that any really authentic person, especially a shy authentic person, and we both are, is going to run away from. So he did, and he was right to do so. And he was infuriated, he was incensed, and I just felt like, I'm telling you the truth, and I sense from you, that you're saying one thing and feeling another thing, and all of this stuff, and not. I went to his house uninvited. I did a lot of things, and I'm ashamed of those things now, and I'm ashamed of who I was and where I was at. But I'm glad I went through it, because if I hadn't have gone through that stage and just stayed where I was before, I certainly wouldn't be here right now. But I do regret that I did those things to somebody whose feelings I always said that I care about. I didn't act like I cared about his feelings. I didn't. Or his safety or comfort or his healing or his peace. Really, I didn't act like I cared about his peace. So yesterday when I came out of work, I wrote all of that in a text. His number's still in my phone by some I'm sure I deleted it a couple of times. I don't know why the number's still in my phone. Anyway, I messaged the number. And I think I reset my phone. I factory reset my phone, and then I had to download my settings. I don't know. Anyway, the number was not in my phone. Then it was in my phone again, and signal from the universe, right? So, so I did that. And I'd love to have a conversation with him about whether he's okay with me writing these things, that not for him or not just for me privately, but maybe to be a work of art. But I can't have that conversation with a person that has ghosted, or has blocked me, however reasonable it was to do so. I can't have that conversation now, which leaves me on my own with it, I guess. And I'm trying to figure out how I feel. I'm trying to figure out if writing is healthy or unhealthy. I think it's healthy. It feels healthy. But I've certainly been a long time. I mean, I've spent longer processing that now than I actually spent in that relationship. So that's crazy. Yeah, and I still haven't even started to unpack my childhood. God forbid. Let's let sleeping demons lie. Anyhow, yeah. I just wanted to share that today. Yeah, and that's it. So keep choosing creativity over perfection and enjoying the process. I guess a real book is better than a book in my head. Anything real is always going to be better than something that's just in your head. And that's true for books, and it's also true for relationships. So I'm single. And if I find somebody great who actually does want to be in a relationship with me, that would, be great, but I'd have to really be feeling it, because I'm a deep feeler, and I'm not going to do something superficial, because like I say, I'm not looking to just fill a relationship shaped hole, and I've realized that about myself. So those are my reflections for today, and this is way longer than I meant it to be. Okay, be well, take care. Talk to you again soon.